Oh boy. Oh boy. Can't stoop any lower. Can't get any more down and out. Can't look any more pathetic. They continue to set a new bar. The Players Association have now started a petition that fans can sign to show their support. That's right. Like, wait, they started a petition? What is it? www.petition.org? Oh my gosh, this is...
A new petition has officially entered the picture. The WNBA Players Association has launched a public online forum asking fans to back them in upcoming CBA negotiations. No polished campaign, no coordinated media blitz, no strategic buildup, just a raw link dropped into the open, inviting signatures. From an ownership perspective, this likely comes off as baffling rather than threatening. It doesn't project strength or urgency, it signals uncertainty. What we're watching feels less like a power move and more like leverage quietly evaporating in real time. And the most striking part, no one on the other side had to do anything to cause it.
I don't know where to begin, but let's start here. Shout out to Mick over there, Mick Talks Hoops. An online petition in CBA negotiations. The league has to just be laughing at this point. They have to be. They have to be. Like, wait, they started a petition? What is it? www.petition.org? For those of you asking if there's a petition, please click the link below.
Here's where it gets awkward. The Players Association is pitching this like a major fan-led uprising, a call to action, urging supporters to click and add their names. But the reality is far less impressive. When the numbers are examined, the petition barely hits 1,600 signatures. Not tens of thousands, not even close. Just 1,600 in a league constantly touting growth, packed arenas, and skyrocketing viewership. Now, imagine it from an owner's perspective. You're at the negotiation table. Across from you, the union hints at a strike, the classic ultimate pressure move. You step away for a second, check your phone, and pull up the petition. 1,600 names. Suddenly, the room's energy shifts. The supposed threat, it doesn't feel intimidating anymore. It feels thin, exposed. Without saying a word, the union has revealed just how shallow the public support really is. A signal that management will never forget, and it keeps sliding downhill. Look closely at the way they word their announcement. They're hyping the 2025 season by bragging about attendance figures before the playoffs even begin.
Nobody really wants this to go on. No, okay. Say no more. Say no more. That's not all we have. The Players Association, the 2025 WNBA season has set records for attendance, been in total, both in total and per game, even before the playoffs. More than 3 million fans have flocked to see stars like A'ja Wilson of the Las Vegas Aces and Alyssa Thomas of the Phoenix Mirror.
Before the playoffs, that's not a power play. It's a quiet admission that momentum didn't stick when it really mattered. The moment they need to show long-term demand, they're showcasing a ceiling instead of growth. And it gets worse. In an effort to promote the league's star power, they start naming players. A'ja Wilson, Alyssa Thomas. These are the faces they credit for filling seats. But they completely skip the player who actually changed the game. They ignore the rookie who drew over 3.2 million viewers for her playoff debut. They leave out Caitlin Clark, whose jersey sales reportedly accounted for more than 40% of total league merchandise revenue during that period. Instead, they spotlight Alyssa Thomas. For casual fans, that name barely registers. Line her up alone, and most people wouldn't even recognize her.
Folks, people can't pick Alyssa Thomas out of a lineup if she was the only one standing in it. If she was the only person standing in a lineup, and you come up there and the cop asks you, can you pick out Alyssa Thomas out of this lineup, please? Person will look at you, look at the person behind the glass, look back at the cop. I don't know who Alyssa Thomas is. I don't even know, is this Alyssa? They'd have absolutely...
This isn't hate, it's reality, and it's more than just sloppy marketing. These decisions are so off the mark, they end up weakening their own negotiating position. When it comes to a CBA, there's one thing that rules above all else: value. You have to show that the product is worth every dollar you're asking for. The simplest, most obvious move? Point 2. Caitlin Clark and say, here's your proof. This is the draw. This is the future. Factor that in when you pay us. Instead, they act like the moment never existed, like the Iowa surge never happened, like the Indiana Fever didn't climb from a mediocre record to serious playoff contenders, like ratings didn't spike every time she touched the ball. Even the Dallas Wings tried building hype around Paige Buchers before she even stepped on a WNBA court, and that approach didn't land either.
Paige's name didn't work, so let's try some other names. That's a good point. They used Paige's name for Unrivaled, didn't work. The Dallas Wings used Paige's name to get people in the arena during Dallas Wings games. That doesn't work. The networks, Ion, they use Paige's name to try to get people to watch on TV, and that doesn't work. So I guess just keep going down the list until one of them sticks. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark's the easiest answer if you really want to sell this.
This isn't a new story. Unrivaled tried it, TV networks tried it, everyone keeps pushing substitute stars, hoping the fans will follow, and every single time, it falls flat. The numbers don't lie. Attention and revenue aren't spread evenly. The data screams who actually draws eyes and dollars. Here's the part that hits the hardest. There are over 100 WNBA players who aren't getting calls from Unrivaled or Project B. No side gigs, no backup checks. Their only real basketball income comes directly from the league, and right now their union leadership is staring down ownership like it's a bluff, holding cards that don't actually win the hand. These are the players caught in the middle. If negotiations collapse, they're the ones risking their only paycheck, and it's happening because leadership refuses to face reality. Ownership has already made a serious offer. Max salaries over $1 million, revenue sharing climbing from roughly 9% to 15%. Average salaries near $500,000. Minimums around $250,000. That's not disrespect, that's a huge leap, fully in line with the league's current finances. But the union keeps acting like this is the NBA, like guaranteed money can operate at the same scale, when it clearly cannot. And the posts they're putting out after months of stalled negotiations, they don't sound strategic, they sound disconnected. The narrative coming from the Players Association is getting wild. They claim ownership is ignoring player demands, stalling talks, disrespecting athletes, and putting the future of women's pro basketball at risk. Yet the owners are offering to more than double minimum salaries and increase revenue sharing by roughly 67%. Reality doesn't match the story being pushed. The truth is, the real risk isn't ownership, it's the players convincing themselves they're owed numbers the current business simply can't support. Instead of negotiating how to grow the overall pie so everyone benefits long term, they're demanding a bigger slice of a pie still propped up by NBA funds. Watching this unfold is painful. Ownership has shown extraordinary patience, almost unreal levels of patience. They've been swallowing pride, slowing the process, putting their own leverage on hold to keep negotiations alive. They're showing up in good faith, trying to craft a deal that doesn't sink the league or leave players stranded. And the union's response? An optics game.
I must be missing all those asking about a petition. Yeah, me too. We need a new players union. Then they do this. This was last week or the week before. Like, this just goes to show you the missteps. They put this out. WNBA players are ready to strike after contract expires. I mean, this is just sad. This is just sad. And then they changed their profile picture.
Profile pictures swapped for an hourglass emoji, like a TikTok countdown. Suddenly the union tried to flip leverage with a simple symbol, but that move doesn't project power. It signals a disconnect from how negotiations actually function. This isn't leadership ready for the big stage. A professional players union can't operate like a campus protest and expect billionaires to flinch. Online petitions and social media pressure don't scare owners who live in spreadsheets and balance sheets. They already know the math, what the league earns, where it loses, and the limits of what it can afford. They also know which names draw attention and which barely register beyond hardcore fans. Every time the union leans into stunts instead of strategy, it broadcasts a clear message. The business side isn't being taken seriously, and the frustrating part, this was completely avoidable. There was a clean path forward. The union could have leaned on proven growth, tying compensation to revenue expansion. Sliding scale revenue sharing could grow alongside profits. Negotiations could have focused on quality quality of life improvements, travel standards, healthcare, long-term security that actually matter to players day to day. That builds leverage, that creates allies. Instead, the focus shifted to symbolic moves with no real weight, and when the numbers come back small, the contrast is louder than any press release. They keep touting player names that barely register outside diehard WNBA circles while accusing ownership of bad faith, turning down offers that represent some of the biggest pay increases in league history. Doing this publicly only makes it worse. Every move is frozen on record, dissected, and quietly used against them. What this really exposes is the current state of the Players Association. Either they're completely out of touch with how the industry works, or they're being guided by people who have zero understanding of professional sports. Negotiations. Any labor expert will tell you, public petitions are a last resort. They signal weakness, not strength. You go public when private talks are dead, and when the crowd is ready to act. A petition with roughly 1/600 signatures shows the opposite. Support simply isn't there. Even fans who watch games and buy merchandise aren't lining up to sign. Brutal reality check. From the owner's perspective, the message is clear. There's no public outrage waiting if a season stalls. Casual viewers drawn in by Caitlin Clark will just return to college hoops. The leverage the union thinks it holds? It doesn't exist. Ownership knows it. That's why they can hold firm while still offering what the league can realistically afford. From the outside, ownership is negotiating in good faith, building something sustainable instead of collapsing after a few seasons. The problem? You can't strike a deal with people who won't accept basic financial reality. You can't close with a union that refuses to acknowledge which players actually generate revenue. This petition isn't just awkward, it's a warning sign. This is the trajectory of these talks. At some point, the Players Association will back down and accept a deal that looks a lot like what's already on the table. Then they'll spin it as a victory. Meanwhile, non-star players quietly lose income due to delays, and union leadership walks away with what credibility they had completely burned. That's what makes this so frustrating. The league just finished its strongest season ever. Attendance up, viewership up, merchandise flying off shelves, social engagement exploding. Every metric was trending in the right direction. Yet instead of locking in that momentum with a smart, forward-looking agreement, the union chose performative gestures and awkward messaging, acting as if certain players are household names when the numbers tell a different story. It's almost impressive how badly this has been handled. They entered negotiations with more leverage than ever and managed to fumble it step by step, and that leverage was real. They could have pointed to 2024 data and said, here's the proof, here's the value, here's why investment makes sense. But that only works if you're honest about where the numbers actually come from. Caitlin Clark drew millions of new fans into the league. She packed arenas in cities that barely noticed the WNBA before. She made Indiana a national talking point again. Her impact was undeniable. Ignoring that reality didn't protect the union, it weakened it. In one rookie season, she pulled more media attention than most players see in their entire careers. And yet, the Players Association won't even mention her in official messaging. That's not a minor oversight, it actively undermines their own position, making their leverage even weaker. Here's where it all stands: a union with little leverage, minimal public support, and no clear plan. Across the table, owners are already offering terms that stretch the league's finances with no real reason to give more. In the middle, over 100 players are staring at lost income if negotiations stall. And on the sidelines, fans are watching this whole spiral unfold in real time.
Imagine this. After months of stalling negotiations, the WNBA and team owners continue to ignore players' demand and jeopardize the future of women's professional basketball. The only people jeopardizing the future are the players. The owners giving you over $1 million max salaries, raising revenue share from 9 to 15, $500,000 for the average player, $250 for the minimum. The only people ruining this deal are the players, because they believe that they're entitled.
It's hard to even grasp how leadership managed to fumble such a strong moment so badly. That petition, hovering around 1,600 signatures, says it all. Fans aren't mobilizing. The public isn't pressuring ownership to fold. The so-called campaign never gained traction. And with every extra day that drags on, the Players Association looks more disconnected and more desperate. This is what happens when ideology drives the playbook instead of strategy. When reality gets ignored because it doesn't fit the story story leadership wants to sell. When performative moves replace results-driven thinking, the union had a real opportunity to secure a landmark deal, one that could have stabilized and grown the league for years. Instead, the focus shifted to symbolic gestures that landed with less impact than a small business rewards program. At some point, the players themselves have to take a hard look. Are their leaders actually protecting their careers or quietly putting them at risk? If that question isn't asked soon, the damage could become permanent. Rank and file players are the ones who pay the price for poor strategy. If they don't intervene, they'll be the ones left holding the bill when everything collapses. This is the moment everything snaps into focus, not with a headline, not a tweet, not another petition, but with real consequences. Negotiations don't care about vibes or symbolism. They care about leverage, timing, and reality. And right now, the Players Association is out of alignment on all three. The league didn't fail the players at the table. The numbers were there. The momentum was there. The audience was there. What failed was leadership's ability to turn that moment into a sustainable win. Instead of tying demands to proven growth, they chased optics. Instead of protecting the most vulnerable players, they gambled their income. Instead of building pressure, they revealed just how little of it actually existed. This wasn't a missed opportunity. It was a self-inflicted wound. And the hardest truth, the owners didn't need to outmaneuver anyone. They just waited. Every public misstep, the petitions, the emojis, the carefully worded posts, quietly stripped leverage away. By the time this ends, the deal will likely look a lot like what was already on the table, and the cost of delay will hit the players who could least afford it. That's the lesson. In professional sports, growth moments don't last forever. You either lock them in with discipline and strategy, or you watch them slip away while pretending you're still in control. If you want the full breakdown, the stuff that isn't sugar-coated or spun, stay with Courtside Leaks. This story isn't over. When the final deal drops, the receipts will reveal exactly who won, who lost, and why. We've got every angle, leaks, backstage twists, moments they won't show you. Hit like, subscribe, drop a comment, and share. Stay locked in with Courtside Leaks, your home for the truth behind the WNBA headlines.